Right, who wrote this? Tom Salinsky. The big issue is a publication that helps homeless people in the UK. Anyway. Star Trek teaches us we can be better than we are, finding comfort and optimism in Star Trek. The world feels scary, unempathetic and dangerous right now. Now is when we need Star Trek's utopian vision of the future the most, says Tom Salinsky today. And there's William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy shooting the Brain, Windgrace, that. What do they call it now? In the books, they even had a whatever it's bloody called, because my brain stopped working. On the bridge of the Enterprise, Horta. That's it, Horta. Yes, thank you, Horta. Yes. Tell you, I'm losing my marbles. I am. Star Trek 4 is totally going to happen for real one day, definitely for sure. Don't know, don't really care, to be honest. Is that that big? Is that a bit small? There we go. Right, Star Trek is back soon with the 5th and final season of Discovery launching on Paramount Plus, which has begun. We're in, 5 episodes in now, aren't we? And it's not been terrible, oddly enough. There will be plenty of people who will revel in its dark and gritty take on the franchise, light years away from the goofy coloured jerseys and computers which explode when you ask them a riddle, which we remember from the 60s show. But as someone who recently rewatched everything from the original series, 66 to 69, to Star Trek Enterprise, 2001 to 2005, excuse me, the dark and gritty nature of Discovery makes it rather atypical of the Star Trek franchise, and it risks throwing away the very thing which made the original series so groundbreaking and beloved. Bet he skipped the animated series. Bet he did. We'll see, won't we? By the way, I watched a couple of episodes of the animated series last week sometime, and I think it were the last 2 episodes. One with Captain April, or Commodore April, who I think were just voiced by James Doohan, I think. His voice didn't match the character, because he was talking like that. And another one. And they weren't very good. But anyway. Take the devil in the dark from the first season of Star Trek. This begins with Kirk and the Enterprise being called in to deal with a terrifying monster which has already killed 50 miners. Seemingly a pretty standard issue hunt the creature story. So far, so boy's own adventure. Only Spock's scientific curiosity about an organism which might be the last of its kind stands between our heroes and their bloodlust. But midway through comes the revelation that the monster is a mother protecting her eggs. We don't know. We know it was just a creature protecting the eggs. I don't know if it was the mother, but I don't think. But anyway. James Doohan voiced so many characters, and I know it's sacrilege, but he doesn't have many voices. No, he doesn't. His data being the best of them. Mother that is protecting her eggs. Before the episode is over, Kirk is threatening to kill any miner who raises a hand to the thing. Does he? Can't remember. And in the end, he brokers a peace between the alien and the humans. The story is resolved through compassion and understanding rather than superior firepower. Yeah, it's a cool episode, is Devil in the Dark. Really good. Look at what Star Trek was up against on US TV in the 1960s. If you wanted something other than cop shows and cowboy shows, your choice was the goofy Lost in Space or the bleakness of the Twilight Zone. And the pattern continues. I don't know, I think Twilight Zone had finished, hadn't it, before Star Trek came on? Same with The Outer Limits. I don't know about Lost in Space. I think that may have overlapped, I think. Because it were in colour. And the pattern continues through movies and TV shows of the 1970s and 1980s. If you want your science fiction exciting and fun, here's Star Wars, where dozens of anonymous stormtroopers get slaughtered, but it's all just larks. Don't forget all them poor red shirts in Star Trek. But anyway, pick and choose. If you want your science fiction to play like serious drama, there's 2001: A Space Odyssey, in which a psychotic computer, except it wasn't, was it? Have you watched 2010? Answers it. Murders 4 men without ever raising its chillingly level voice. Star Trek lives in this middle ground where we aren't assuming a dystopian future where everything is awful. Lost in Space was 65 to 68. Thank you. Where everything is awful, but nor are we just playing everything for laughs either. When the show relaunched in the late 1980s as Star Trek The Next Generation, original creator Gene Roddenberry laid down firm rules which continued to be respected by his successors, more or less. Chief among them, no conflict between our regular characters, which they didn't do. They are the best of the best and won't succumb to petty personal vendettas. Pardon me. For many new scriptwriters, this was an insane directive. Drama lives in having characters with opposing viewpoints, butt heads. And to be fair, there are quite a few rather dull episodes in the first couple of years of The Next Generation. But over time, having to stick to this rule forced the writing team to find unexplored areas of narrative, and the results include all-time classic episodes like Ship in a Bottle, that's the Sherlock Holmes one, isn't it? Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra, The Inner Light, where Picard lived an entire lifetime in his head in about 20 minutes or whatever, which is a great episode. Or I, Borg, where we met Hugh. Hugh. We'll call you Hugh, because you said you. For God's sake, Hugh. Star Trek teaches us that we can be better than we are. Of course, Hugh was murdered by Romulans in Star Trek Picard Season 1. Hugh isn't dead. Yeah, well. Star Trek teaches us that we can be better than we are, and in a world riven by conflict, it's a useful lesson. Later iterations of the franchise dealt with this in different ways. It's a slightly weird quirk of fate that the series about characters hanging out in the shopping mall in space, Deep Space Nine, it's one way of looking at it, ended up being the one about the horrors of war, the pain of generational trauma. Horrors of war, obviously, the Klingon War that they had, and the Dominion War. Generational trauma, obviously Jake's Sisko and all that, and Nog, I suppose, to a certain degree, and the terrible things which people will do to obtain and cling on to power. Various cultures, from the Federation to the Bajorans, and the Klingons and the Cardassians. Right, anyway, whereas the one about a tiny group of survivors stranded light years from home, desperately clinging on to the one small life raft Voyager, it's about the size-ish of a Constitution-class starship, but anyway, ended up being the one about spreading the Federation's optimistic vision of the future to far reaches of the galaxy. So it is with the current crop of shows, If the darker tone of Discovery isn't for you, then the breezier Strange New Worlds may be a better fit for your tastes. Yes, it is, for me anyway. I like Strange New Worlds. Or if you think that Strange New Worlds has gone too far, with its cartoon crossovers and characters bursting into song, then the pure nostalgia of the final season of Picard may be where you'll feel most at home. It was alright, you know. It wasn't as good as everybody made it out to be, but it was fine. But in all of its incarnations, there's an optimism about the future which Star Trek always carries with it, and maybe precisely because the world feels scary, unempathetic and dangerous right now, now is when we need Star Trek's utopian vision of the future most. I know that I was much happier watching and documenting 724 episodes of science fiction adventure than I was watching the news. There we go. So there we go. Star Trek Discovering the TV series by Tom Salinsky is out now, published by Pen and Sword for £25. You can buy it from the Big Issue shop. So there we go. Didn't mention Prodigy, no it didn't. Or Lower Decks, didn't mention that either, did it? Didn't mention the animated series, did it? So obviously he's not an animation fan. Yes, it is typical. So he's obviously not a fan of Star Trek animations, is he? So there we go. But I understand where he's coming from, and he's right. That we should strive to be better than we are, and that's what Star Trek teaches us, that we can be better and we can push forward without not to detract from, what's gone before or others around us. We try and make ourselves and others better. That's what we've got to do, haven't we? Almost mentioned Lower Decks with cartoon crossover. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Yes, but not quite. It didn't quite get there, but it stuck in his throat, didn't it? I don't think he likes Strange New Worlds, but I do. I love it, and I can't wait for the next season. I want to see what happens with the Gorn. But anyway, right. So there we go. Let's move on. But yes, a good article on the whole. Apart from their shooting the horse, but they get Bones to come down, don't they, and repair it. Damn it, Jim! I'm a doctor, not a bricklayer. Because it's a silicon-based life form. But he does fix it. Because he says, Jim, I'm beginning to think I can cure a rainy day. Cool episode. See, I do remember some things. Some things do stick in my head. Right.